The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Tricrest Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. With me today I've got Gavin Neate, who's the CEO and founder of Neatebox. They are the creators of the Welcome app. Hi Gavin, how are you?
Hello Rebecca, I am very well.
Good. Tell us what Welcome is, please.
Great, let's get straight on with it. So Welcome is a system which provides advanced knowledge of the arrival of a disabled person at a venue so that the customer service team are trained in the moment as to how to interact with the person who's walking through the door.
Brilliant. And how does that work? So does the person with a disability download the app before they go into the venue, and then the venue has access to that knowledge for when the person arrives on a screen or their own handheld systems?
So it's a little bit like a duck. On the surface, everything is incredibly smooth and hands-free and easy to use and promotes human connectivity and communication.
Okay.
However, underneath the surface, it's doing a few different things. And you're right in saying the person downloads the app and they put in some very basic information about what they would like when they go anywhere. So as an example, if somebody would love it if everywhere had a changing places toilet, they would say, I always love it when there's a changing places toilet, and that way then they're promoted that's promoted by the venue to them. So the person downloads the app, they put in basic information, they're then given the option of different venues that we've already got signed up to the system. If they then pick a venue they want to go to, they say they want to go to that venue, they can put in a message as to what they want to do when they go to the venue, when they arrive. So the people inside the building already know what their purpose is when they arrive. And the reason that's brilliant is because a lot of people have a real challenge in communicating when they arrive at a particular venue. And especially when, there are lots of different examples of this, but somebody who maybe doesn't have communicative skills, so acquired brain injury or somebody with autism, these areas, so hidden disabilities in that area, but also you've got somebody who might be with a carer. If you're with a carer, you're then in a situation where the person in customer service is more likely to talk to your carer than you, even though you're the one going along and spending the money. And that's derogatory, and it doesn't fill the person with a joy, and it doesn't make them want to go back. So repeat visits are very difficult when you're discriminated against. And we'll go into more detail about that later. But it also helps the staff member, because the staff member feels anxious when they meet somebody who's disabled. And we expect that this common sense thing is something that's going to address every single issue that's out there. But the truth is that common sense is not that common. It's certainly a superpower these days, and we want to put all of the information in the hands of the customer service team so that before the person arrives, they know exactly what they need to do. So when they walk through the door, they're already friends. And there's that amazing piece, there's a saying which was, a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. Mm-hmm. Well, we make sure that the stranger is a friend before they walk through the door. So the stranger is somebody you're just about to meet who's your friend. Brilliant.
So anybody out there who has a disability, whether it's a visible disability or one that you can't immediately see, can download the Welcome app from Android and...
Yeah, it's on Android and iOS.
Great.
And it's totally free.
Brilliant.
We don't advertise, we don't need to take credit card details, we don't take the person's home address, we're not gaining loads of data from them in that respect, but we're gaining a lot of anonymous data around about the movement of people who are disabled and the needs that there are for society and business within society to provide service for people. And we'll talk to people and they'll often say things, yeah, but we don't get many disabled people in here. Well, for a start, that's because you're not welcoming them in. But also secondly, that a lot of people think that a disabled person is a person in a wheelchair or somebody with a guide dog or a long cane. However, 75%, and you alluded to this a second ago, 75% of people who are disabled have hidden disabilities. So there's a very high chance that there are disabled people coming into your store or your business or your office building or your transport hub or your health centre or a library or a cinema or wherever it might be, a coffee shop, and you don't know that they need more assistance. And that means that their anxiety level goes up. It also means that if they wanted to get specific assistance relevant to their disability, they would have to self-declare when they got to the counter. So whereby Starbucks might ask you for your name when they're writing your name on the cup, you shouldn't have to tell them you're also somebody living with schizophrenia or autism or epilepsy or Asperger's or dyslexia or cerebral palsy. Well, cerebral palsy not so hidden, but you shouldn't have to tell that person at that point. And let's face it, if you did tell them, how are they going to respond? They're going to be like a rabbit in headlights. And that's a massively important part of what we do. Decrease the anxiety in the person who's giving the assistance. And because all of it is done online, we go back to the duck analogy, the phone stays in your pocket. This is not tech that you need in your hand. You set up the visit in advance, and then geofences and beacons and advanced knowledge means that the phone stays in your pocket, and all that happens when you arrive at that venue is get better service from somebody who wants to give you better service, who feels better about giving you better service.
Fantastic. Now, this sounds like the sort of thing that only big businesses could afford to have on their premises. Is that right? Is it open to anybody who's got any kind of premise that is open to the public?
Are you trying to Jeremy Paxman me here? That sounds like a small business can't possibly have this because it costs so much. No, well, we're a SaaS model company. I want this to be absolutely everywhere. So nobody is paying a massive premium for this. This is something that can be put in a coffee shop, a charity, or Heathrow Airport. Everybody can have this. And yes, we've got different scales within that pricing structure, but it's still SaaS model. So even Heathrow Airport might look at this and go, yeah, that's going to cost the same as it would to have a meeting for the whole year. And a coffee shop can have it for next to nothing per month. And a charity, we just do cost price.
Great. Now, the cynical business person in me says, what's in it for the business? What's in it for that coffee shop or Heathrow Airport or the office block? What's in it for them?
Well, I hinted at this already. So if your customer service team are happier to deliver service, well, they're happier to deliver service. And there's a possibility they might stay with you longer. And when you work in customer service, there's a very good chance it might be seasonal, a very good chance that it might be a job that you're going to do while you're waiting for another job. But if you're really happy in customer service and you're very good at customer service and you enjoy customer service, there's more chance you're going to stay there. And if you stay there, as far as a business is concerned, that's a massive bonus for that business. However, there's also the fact that if you're good at giving customer service, you're going to be more efficient. If you're more efficient, you get more people through the business. If you get more people through the business, you're going to take more per day. However, also if you're giving good customer service and the person enjoys coming there, they're going to be loyal. They're going to want to come back again because they got really great service from you. So there's a win there for the business who's making more money. There's a win there for the person who's giving better service. There's a win there for the person who's walking through the door. There's a win there for society who see the business giving better service and also see best practice in operation as they see people interact with each other. Also, the member of staff goes home that night and remembers all of that information and puts it into practice in their world and passes it on to other people. So I don't want to... Yes, I do. This is societal change. This is what we're aiming here is not a business that's going to make money and get bigger and our shareholders get lots of money. Of course, that's really important. But what we want here is societal change. And this is a really good way of delivering it.
It is, definitely. So how on earth did you come up with this idea? And what was that moment you decided to set this business up?
Well, there's no secret from the fact, and it might be obvious in my voice. If it's not, then I've been around the block a little bit. This is my fourth job, motorway cafe at the start when I was 17, but then I joined the military police. I was a dog handler for several years, 10 years, and then I started doing voluntary work for Guide Dogs for the Blind. And then in 1996, I left the forces and joined Guide Dogs and started an 18-year career with that charity as a guide dog mobility instructor. My job was training people how to use the dog.
Okay.
So a lot of people would say, oh, you looked after the dog. But no, my job was training the dog a little bit in the last month of its training, and then training the person, matching it with somebody, and then training the person how to use it. So my hands were not on the dog. It was very much, this is your dog now, I don't want anything to do with it, but I'm going to teach you how to use it.
Okay.
And when you do that, the first day you give them the dog, you're standing on their shoulder, but over a period of 3 or 4 weeks, you're actually removing yourself from that relationship to the extent where when you walk into a shop or you go from A to B or whatever you're doing, you're not seen as being part of that group. So when a person who's with a guide dog walks into a shop, the person in the shop only sees the person and the guide dog. They don't see the guide dog mobility instructor who's hanging around in the background. And when you are in my position doing that, you see interaction in a way that is going to happen the day after the day after the day after that, instead of being on their shoulder. And the one thing that was really, really obvious to me, there was a total lack of consistency in how people were treated wherever they went. And that's because, and when I looked at it in more detail, staff training cannot, actually you don't have to look in this in any detail, it's obvious. Staff training can never be good enough to ensure that you can interact with everybody who comes through the door and understand everybody who's coming through the door before they come through the door.
It's true.
It can't be good enough. And we expect it to be, because we expect common sense. And of course, it used to be that the only person who would come through the door might be somebody in a wheelchair. And then they'd be with somebody else anyway, and they didn't expect you to talk to them. Whereas now disabled people expect you to talk to them. They expect you to want to take money from them. They are expecting to have a job. They're expecting these things, and we have to manage those expectations by providing the solution. And obviously that's what we want to do. Brilliant,
fantastic. So we're clear on who your clients and your customers are. They're the people, they're the end users, if you like, who want to go into a venue, into a cafe, a restaurant, a shop, an office, and be treated on a level playing field, really. That's what it's about, so that they're treated like anybody else who has who is abled or disabled or has a hidden disability or an obvious disability. That levels the playing field. And it's also there for businesses who want to improve their customer services and who want to improve that experience for people who are using their office, their venue, whatever it happens to be, which is fantastic. Okay, so you are not a technology guru. I know that about you.
I'm smiling.
How did you discover the technology was available to do this?
I just knew what I wanted to achieve.
Okay.
So I just thought, I wonder if.
Okay, interesting.
That's pretty much where it came from. A lot of people who are techies, and this is where there's an advantage in not being a tech guru, is that if you're into tech, you go, I've got some tech, I wonder what I could use it for. Whereas when you see problems, you say, I see a problem, I wonder how I could fix it. And then it's just a case of getting out there and looking at how you can fix it. A lot of people, they see a problem and they complain to somebody else until they fix it, and then they go looking for a bit of tech without understanding the problem. So from my point of view, it was just knowing what the problem was. But there is some interest and some knowledge there about tech, but it wasn't because I was massively into technology, although I've always been into computer games. I was into mobile phone technology as it started to become interesting, and then smartphones and the rest, although I was never into Apple. I was always into Nokia. But then in 2006, I had people turning up to train with their guide dogs, and they had Apple iPhone 2Ss, which had VoiceOver as standard. VoiceOver is on every single person's phone who's listening to this. Android have TalkBack, Apple have VoiceOver. But if you go into accessibility settings on your phone, you might never have been there before, and have a look down a list of all the things that are standard. You don't have to pay for these things, but people who are disabled can actually look through that and then work out what's best for them to use. Now, anybody who's listening to this, do it. Go into settings, look for the word accessibility, click on that and have a look through there. Because these are the reasons that the people who are going to apply for jobs with you or walk through the door can use tech in a better way than you can, more efficiently and more productively than you ever will, because they're using the shortcuts. In the same way that when you speak to somebody who's secretarial, has understanding of secretarial work, they will know all the shortcut keys on a keyboard, and they're much more efficient because of it. Well, that's the way disabled people use smart technology.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so what's been the scariest moment in your business so far?
Are you going to edit the pause out there?
Yeah, no.
Scariest moment. Scariest moment. I can't think I've ever been scared. Dramatically scared. I guess at the very start there was a moment when I heard that Microsoft were doing something with beacon technology, because I was using beacon technology, and that kind of scared me a little bit because I thought I couldn't possibly compete with Microsoft, but the truth is that I outlived them in this particular area anyway, because I have the passion and the stamina to keep going where theirs might have just been a project with a project manager who didn't necessarily understand what they were trying to achieve. So scared, I don't think I've ever been scared, and I don't think there's any room to be scared, because all you do is look at the destination, and if something gets in your way, it doesn't scare you, you just find a way around it.
Great, perfect, wonderful. Okay, what do you love about running your business?
It is a roller coaster ride. Some people don't like roller coaster rides. I think the thing that I love more than anything else, well, I'm fairly certain about this, is those moments when you see somebody use your system who had been struggling every single day up till that moment, and then they use your system and they go, this has changed my world.
Brilliant.
And that's a goosebump moment. And if you've got a job where you don't have goosebumps, I feel sorry for you, but try and find a reason to have goosebumps within your job. If you don't get goosebumps in your job, then you're not living the life the joy that is there for you to live. So find those goosebump moments.
Fantastic. And I know from the app, if somebody downloads it and goes to a venue and they find that they haven't got Welcome by Neatebox, they can request a venue, can't they?
Yeah, well, there's lots of things within the app that make it just brilliant, and we've just added things on over the last few years. But one of the things that I was very keen of at the very start was that it was free. I then wanted to create, and if it hasn't come across that I wanted societal change, then this is about societal change. I wanted to create societal change, and I wanted the balance of power to switch from the person providing service to the disabled person deciding what service they wanted. And if we just look at the word charity, if you look up Oxford English Dictionary, the charity definition is the provision of services or financial support to those in need. And that relies on there being a need, and that relies on there being a misbalance in power. Whereas if you if you remove the barriers, the person is naturally raised up. So what we say within the app is, if you want to see this somewhere, go to the help section, request a new venue, and that will pop up on the neatebox.com app or website, where we'll have a map of all the different requests across the country and all of the different venues that have been requested. As an example, at the very start, we contacted IKEA after we had a request. IKEA said, oh no, it's not really something we want to do. We've now got 13 requests for IKEA, whereas, let's face it, if we had 10,000 requests for IKEA for them to install something that was going to cost them £40 a month, that was going to make them £2,000 a month,
I think they're probably going to do it, aren't they?
They'd be mad not to.
Yeah.
And if somebody else did it, then their business would go there. And just as when we're talking business here, everybody thinks of disability as a nice to have, because that's traditional and historic. However, the spending power of the 13 million disabled people in the UK is around about £249 billion a year.
249 billion?
£249 billion a year.
Just in the UK?
18% of the British population are disabled in some way.
Goodness me.
It's a stunning fact. But if we talk about niche markets, 18% of the UK have a disability or are seen as having a disability. Nearly 100% of the UK are going to have a disability at some point in their life. So if we're talking about small niche markets, everybody on this planet is going to be disabled at some point in their life. And it might be for 2 days, but it could quite easily be for 10 years. Increasingly, as we grow older, you're going to be disabled for 20 years. So maybe a fifth of your life will be spent as a disabled person. With all the money that you've accumulated through your life, we're talking a lot of people here who are very wealthy, elderly, possibly disabled people.
So true.
Yeah. And another stat, 75%, this is a scope study, 75% of disabled people have said that they've received poor customer service.
And it's so easy to fix.
It is now.
It is now. Very good. Okay, what do you hate about running your business, Gavin?
What do I hate? I'm very lucky that the stuff I hate doing, I have amazing teammates who love doing, as crazy as they are. So I really dislike technical process. So record keeping I'm not a massive fan of. I'm not a fan of Excel spreadsheets and Trello boards and a lot of these things. I'm a little bit too wild, and I don't want to say that because you then feel yourself going down the route of proving it by being it, and I try and improve what I do, and I want to improve what I do, but I'm aware of the people that I've got around me who are brilliant at what they do, so therefore I just thank them a lot for being brilliant. So I don't like doing it, I I know they love doing it. They're brilliant at doing it, and I thank them for it.
You got to play to your strengths as a business owner.
Yeah,
You absolutely do. Yeah.
The larger you get, the more important it is that you do.
Yeah.
And you bring in specialists. At the start, you want people who can do lots of different things. And I can do lots of different things, but I very much love and should be doing the things that I'm doing.
Good. Who inspires you?
My team are inspirational because I come in every single day and they are working bloody hard to do the things that I know are important to the company, and that's an inspiration for me. I'm not going to say it's a guilt, but I'm definitely inspired by how hard they work and how much they love not just the job but the values behind the job and the company. I'm inspired by the people who have fought against adversity and discrimination, and that's not just disability, that's also ethnic, religious, sexual orientation, gender. These people are fighting against things that other people just take for granted, and every single one of these people is inspirational in what they're doing. Now, there's a term called inspiration porn when it comes to disability inspiration porn, and you just think it's where somebody says, look at that, isn't that amazing, aren't they amazing for doing that? And yes, it is an amazing fact that they've done it because they've removed the barriers that we as a society have put in their way. Society needs to remove those barriers and allow them to be brilliant at what they do. Just because somebody's disabled doesn't mean they're going to be brilliant at it. Just because somebody is able-bodied doesn't mean they're going to be brilliant at it. But just because they're disabled doesn't mean they're not going to be brilliant at it. And everybody needs to have those barriers removed so that they can be brilliant at it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I would say my alarm clock, but I'm awake so early I don't even need an alarm clock. What gets me out of bed every day? Well, I love doing what I do, but the first thing in the morning is emails and LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook, and so as soon as I wake up, and this is so sad and this is a reflection of modern society, I think maybe it's a little bit different when you are that attached to what you do as I am, but I can put my hand down and my phone is on my bed and my iPad is already running on my bedside cabinet, so I can see exactly what's happened overnight and things that I've missed. So I love getting to work. I love working. I'm not a workaholic because this doesn't feel like work. What would keep me in bed? I don't know.
Right. There's so many reasons to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So many reasons. Anything that keeps you awake at night that really worries you?
No, I sleep really deeply and very quickly. So when I get into bed at night, I'm straight to sleep.
Good.
And then solid 5 hours sleep, probably not 5 hours, maybe 4 hours sleep solid, wake up, do some stuff for about half an hour before I fall asleep again, listen to radio.
Okay.
Radio's brilliant because you can listen to radio with your eyes closed. Radio 5 Live comedy.
Is that what you listen to?
Yeah.
5 Live comedy, I'll have to...
Well, 5 Live, no, I've listened to Radio 5 Live, but then comedy in general.
Right, okay.
That's the thing that will get me to back to sleep again, but I will check my emails before I do start listening to it, just to make sure that I'm on top of everything. Otherwise, I will wake up in the morning and I'll be behind everything straight away. Right,
okay, fair enough. And if your business was a person, how would you describe its personality?
Intense.
Intense.
Passionate and intense. I get told I'm passionate and intense a lot. It's like mad staring. Oh, you're so passionate. And what I don't understand is why people aren't.
Yeah, but I think, of all the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed so far, and I'm sure I'll interview more, is that passion and intensity comes across. I don't think you can do it unless you have that passion and intensity. And
you can't fake it.
No.
There's a brilliant movie called Gattaca. And there's a scene in Gattaca where, without going into, check it out, it's a brilliant movie if you haven't seen it, but it's about perfect human and a human born naturally, and the human born naturally never beats his brother who's a perfect human, and they always go for this swim, and the imperfect brother, the normal ordinary person, would always get to a certain distance and then swim back to the shore, and his brother would always have the ability to swim further because he's a perfect human, all his faults have been taken out genetically. And then there's this one time when they're both swimming out together and his brother, the perfect chap, turns round and says, "How did you beat me this time? Because we need to go back now." And the imperfect brother says, "Because I didn't actually save energy for the return journey."
Oh my goodness.
So he was using all of his energy to just keep going.
Gosh. How does it end?
You have to watch the movie. But that is reference to how I look at this.
Right.
People say to me, what about your pension? What about this? What about that? Where do you live? I've sold everything. I just live in rented accommodation. I'm all in poker parlance, if people haven't seen Gattaca. Put all your chips in the table, stand up, and when you win, you sit down again and continue playing poker. But every single hand, I'm likely to put my hand in because I believe in it so deeply.
And there's no plan B, is there?
There is no plan B. Never have a plan B.
No.
Plan A. And just go for it. And then if plan A doesn't work, you find another route to plan A.
It's true. I love it. Thank you so much, Gavin. That is
total pleasure.
Absolutely fantastic. What a great interview. And what's the website's address?
So neatebox.com is our website. But if people want to download the app, and I totally recommend if you know somebody who is disabled who could use it, it's just Welcome by Neatebox, Neatebox, on iOS and on Android. And follow me on Twitter, Gavin Neate, at Gavin Neate, or at Neatebox. And LinkedIn, just Google us, YouTube us, whatever, there's lots out there.
If you Google Gavin Neate, which is Neate, you will find Welcome. You'll find the Welcome app, you'll find the Neatebox website, you'll find Gavin on Twitter. He's always on Twitter, so you'll be able to contact him there. If you've got any questions about downloading the app, using it either for your venue, your office, or using it for yourself to get out and about, then go to Neatebox and have a look.
Please do, and the first person who texts me at 2 o'clock in the morning will get a gold star.
Wonderful. You'll be sorry you said that, Gavin. Brilliant. Have a great day. Thanks very much. Bye.
The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen. Grab your seat, let's have a blast.